Hello, everybody. How are you today? And welcome to our webinar. Today is all about our third in our series of cash forecasting and optimization. Kim, can you see my screen?
I can.
That is great. We're on the right start. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. And I really appreciate all of you being here. I'm really excited to be here again with Kim Dowling and Haresh Chaya from SAP. So we'll get started. A reminder that we are recording the webinar. We always record these webinars, and you have the options and opportunity to ask questions throughout the session. You can go down, there is a questions screen down there, enter your question, and we'll answer as many as we can throughout the webinar. We had a lot of them in our last webinar, so we'll try to get to as many as we can. And of course, you can download previous webinars from our homepage. So check us out, go over to bramasol.com. Facebook and engage with us in conversations there. You can check us out at LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn Treasury page as well as a Bramasol page. But what I'd really like you to do is go on over to YouTube. We have a lot of videos out there, customer videos, short snippets that I think you'll like on Treasury, as well as podcasts that we're running. And you can check those out through the podcast page through Apple iTunes or iHeartRadio. So today's agenda, we're going to focus. We did a quick welcome. And again, welcome to Haresh and Kim. We'll touch on some driving forces, and then we'll really get to the meat of the discussion. And Kim will recap our multi-bank connectivity, payment processing, electronic bank statement processing, reconciliation, and GL posting. We'll go into what you really want to hear about, which is the cash position and cash analyzer, talk a bit about and focus on liquidity forecasting. And then we've got some really great cloud analytics and the Analytics Cloud Liquidity Planner. There's a great video. I encourage all of you to go out there. SAP has a really good video on liquidity planning with the planner, and I encourage all of you to check that link out. We'll provide that to you, as well as check out a number of our videos on a lot of that stuff. So why don't we get started? So why are we here and why have we been doing this series? Well, really, the reason we're here is in today's volatile and changing economy, there are really three priorities. And as I did some research, as I always do, prepping for these webinars, I read about 20 or so different white papers, websites, et cetera, and really three things came to the fore on what CFOs and treasury teams are focused on today. And that is number one, and the way they phrase it is liquidity, liquidity, liquidity. They're really focused in on liquidity management and forecasting. The next one is risk management. And that's all about the combination of this idea of finance and supply chain resilience. How does finance help supply and prepare you to be nimble in today's environment and be nimble with supply chain? How do I make sure that I know where my cash is, what my cash is, and how can I make myself prepared to be able to move around quickly and easily? And then finally, of course, this whole idea of security and maintaining internal controls. One of the things I think that we forget and is a huge value, if you will, of the SAP solution and an integrated solution like SAP offers is integrated security. More and more we read about security breaches. CFOs and auditors are questioning whether or not we have internal controls built for the remote work environment. So among these three things, those are the ones that come up. Today, we're going to focus in on the liquidity management, cash forecasting, but we will, touch on these other issues as well. So with that, Kim, I am going to turn it over into yours and Haresh's capable hands.
Thanks, John. So for today's webinar, I wanted to go through some of the additional driving forces, which we've talked about in some of the last two webinars that we did. But for those of you that are new to this particular webinar, I thought we would be best to go over some of those items again, just to give some of the groundings of why we're even talking about these topics today. So some of the additional factors that are driving change, of course, the visibility of data. It's now, and it's the most challenging area for Treasury. Of course, they're looking for how can we increase that speed. There are different dimensions of change. We really need that data in real time, and we have to have that real-time connectivity. And of course, our technology innovation also helps to drive that increase in use of the tools that we may be coming across time, such as artificial intelligence, and things of that nature. So with the need for intuitive tools, Treasury objectives are now looking at driving our cash flow improvements, optimizing our assets and liabilities, enable secure payments, and of course our forward-looking insights looking at how we're going to manage that financial risk. We're looking at how can we fund the business and how can we minimize the cost of capital. So in the digital world of technology, it's really helping to enable our CFOs and our treasurers and finance to help make those real-time financial decisions that they can utilize the cutting-edge digital technology that is coming into play today. So the corporate objectives aren't changing. It's really how do we achieve our objectives and what is changing because the ability for us to now tap into those digital tools. So new technology is already applicable and being used in many areas, but it's the level of adoption that's likely to continue to rise in the treasury function as it grows overall into the organization. We're starting to see that today. And if we look at our current legacy systems, treasuries today, they're not really that adequate anymore. So we are now pushing to focus on driving those businesses into the future and not focusing on what we had in the past and looking for how can we get that instant insight for anywhere on any device, whether it be on our tablets, our cell phones, our PCs and so forth, because we're all very mobile today. And looking at how can we look at those end-to-end processes and automation to have that integrity of our data and also looking at the consistency of that data within our operations. So to get on with this, you remember that we were talking about the last two webinars where we were first talking about connecting with the bank communications, connecting our bank communications with, if you see the box over to the top right, the multi-bank connectivity, bringing that into our digital core of Treasury for payments and cash management. Then we start looking at how can we now build that further so now we can look at payments, inflows and outflows of payments, and also then build that into our cash management to get better visibility of all our cash flows and our cash positions, and then also now bring in those items from our subledger, payables and receivables and treasury related items into our liquidity forecast. So we're going to get into a little recap of where we were last time in the last two webinars, then dive in more deeper into the cash positioning and liquidity forecast.
Yeah, and just real quick, Kim, I always love this slide, and maybe Haresh, you can comment real quickly about the ecosystem and remind everybody how the how SAP Treasury really doesn't just sit by itself in the digital core, that it's part of this ecosystem.
Sure, John, that's a great point to comment on here. A lot of times folks think of Treasury as just being able to move cash around. Well, it's much more than that. And even to move cash around, you need multiple players in the ecosystem. So of course, in this conversation, we're going to focus primarily on the bank connectivity and so on and so forth. But if you think about it, the companies that deal in risk management, for example, when they settle their trades, they have to issue payments from whatever the settlement tells them to do. Those payments have to go to your counterparties through your bank, and those payments also have to be reported on your cash flows. So it's not just about cash management, it's about risk management, it's about the whole payment infrastructure, and most customers have to pay their vendors and everybody else. So this sort of becomes a part of a bigger ecosystem that sits on top of your finance applications. And they need to be connected. They need to be able to talk to the outside world, which is shown here through these arrows as well, which are standardized integrations with outside players in the ecosystem.
Great, thank you, Haresh. That's right.
So with looking at those end-to-end payments and processing, we're really looking at how can we get that end-to-end integration, as Haresh was just saying, from SAP, from our banks, incoming and outgoing payments. So last time we were talking about all of our payments from payables and receivables and treasury, using the bank communications management for batching those payments as well as the approval processes. And again, remember we talked about the approval processes, that gives you that security over your payments that you can actually build in the threshold that you may want to approve your payments before they actually go out the door, whether it be going straight through because it's at the level that you don't need approvals, or that you want to actually go through where you have to have anything over $1 million goes to a certain level. If it's over higher than $5 million, it goes to another set of eyes and so forth. So that's very flexible. And then bringing in our electronic bank statements after those payments are flows back in again, your bank statements through Multibank Connectivity into SAP. Automatic, bank statement monitoring, so you know if those bank statements actually were successful or not. And you also can then now look at your automated bank statement reconciliation and do your reworks as needed. And of course, automated GL posting, and now you have your cash position real time with automated updates straight in. Instead of going into those different, taking all your fobs and going into your different bank portals and have to go to this portal to see this bank statement or another portal to see another bank statement, you can now all bring that in holistically together into one place. So now we've got this integration with the banks, you're now fully integrated, seamless visibility of all those inflows and outflows. And it will help you now leverage those processes for all the processes that we're talking about with BCM, the EVS, the bank statement monitoring, GL postings, and so forth. So we're going to all bring that together. So with the recap of the last two webinars, one of the items that we talked about after we brought the items in through process through the multi-bank connectivity are payment processing. So we have payment inflows and outflows. So those key capabilities and benefits of those payments are really going to be automating those payments workflows and streamlining those routing and approvals. You now have that intuitive status of monitoring all the visibility into your payment lifecycle. You're going to have your standards-based interfaces. You're going to have your centralization of your payment, which also include your, when you start working on in-house cash can have your payments on behalf of or received on behalf of. While your benefits are, you're automatically now consolidating all those number of global banking relationships and connections using those multi-bank gateways. You've now optimized your working capital, and you can use that through pooling or however else you might want to do it with in-house cash. You're also looking at automatically receiving and importing your bank statements to all those multiple formats. You're fixing the areas of your post-processing. You're understanding that all your bank statements are approved successfully on time. Now you can actually analyze your cash position by either country, bank, company code, or bank, which we'll show you that in a minute.
Yeah, next on Thursday, of course, we'll be talking a little bit with a company called Matthews International, and they'll be showing and talking a bit about the centralized payments in particular, and how, a sneak preview, they've been able to reduce the amount of cash they had out there very significantly. And I think the beauty of this is that there's real-time benefit to doing all of these. And these benefits, these key benefits, aren't just statements. They really are, there's real impact that you can have in a real-time, short-term basis, right? Right, Kim?
Yes, it's actually quite cool. It's the benefits that they're realizing are quite incredible, and it's actually streamlined all of their business processes, more of like bringing it together, more of like a shared services, but it's all processing very straight through, very smoothly. And the benefits are just incredible. And it'd be really interesting to have other folks to be able to join those webinars and hear what they have to say.
Absolutely. Haresh, is that what you're hearing, as the voice of SAP out there on Treasury these days?
Absolutely. I mean, as I said, the crisis has changed the mindset a little bit in customers' world. They want to make sure that they are able to get better control over their cash. And that's an immediate need, and they want quick solutions. SAP has those for our customers. And then eventually, once everybody is expecting the crisis to be over someday, which it will, and then they would start to build even further on this foundation that they were already put together during the crisis. So yeah, there's a lot of interest in these kinds of quick hits for our customers.
Okay.
And Haresh, you just said something very interesting. So if you remember for the folks on the line from our last two webinars, we're talking about breaking this up into bite-sized pieces, something that's manageable, that you can start getting the benefits, now versus waiting so long to do everything. It has to be done all at once in one great big huge project. So as we're talking through today, we first talked about making sure that we can actually bring in our bank statements through the multi-bank connectivity from our bank straight through. We could bring it in to have the cash visibility, but now we're further layering in the next phase, which is what we just talked about the previous slide, is being able to enable all of our payments, our inflows and outflows of payments, that's payables, receivables, treasury type payments, all those items directly through from SAP back and forth through multi-bank connectivity, because we just built that in phase one, through the banks and back through again with acknowledgements and so forth. And then once you've done that, it brings you to this point here, where now you have those electronic bank statements coming in when you have automatic reconciliations and GL postings. You're not going in and manually going into your bank portals and looking at, well, here's what was supposed to happen. Did it actually happen? Or dumping it into Excel and trying to sort through that information. You can get it right at your fingertips, real time, without having to spend all that extra time. So you can find out where you are and where your issues are straight ahead in the morning and not having to do all these manual journal entries. It's really streamlining all those processes right at your fingertips. So with the bank statement processing, the GL postings, I just put in a few screenshots here where you can, it might be a little bit hard to see. If you get a hold of the deck, you can actually blow it up. But you can see where you can actually go in and you can have different ways of viewing your bank statements however you want. You can see it by bank statement in the bottom screen, or you can see it within the different bar charts, or however you like to look at things in the morning to see what bank statements actually come in, how many were there, did they all process successfully, which ones do I have to rework, and so forth. So with these capabilities, you're supporting all of your incoming payments in your bank statements in SAP. You have all those, you can have numerous bank formats as well, whether it be XML, BI, SWIFT, or 940. We're actually working with a lot of our customers and converting them all to XML, which is the global standard. It makes it a lot easier. You've got all those bank statement overviews. You see all the bank statements displayed in your bank statement monitor as pictured on the screen, and all the automated posting and clearing. You also have the key benefits of supporting mass posting of all those GL documents instead of bringing them in and going off to the side in a manual Excel spreadsheet and either doing a GL upload or using the bots or actually using one by one. You can actually, it's automated. You don't have to do anything. It all comes in based off the rules into the GL postings that are been set up in the system. And you can easily add new GL accounts or bank accounts as you need. Automates all those bank statements and reconciliations fully automated. It also enables all that post-processing for any items that were not cleared. So you can see exactly what didn't clear, go in and click in it into that item and automatically post-process it. It also allows you to also take those items that maybe did not process automatically, build in search strings, so the next time it sees that payment, it knows exactly what it's doing. Or you can also utilize the artificial intelligence to say, hey, last time you posted it here, it automatically knows what to do and it posts it where it needs to be posted and clears it off right away. So now that's bringing you to where we went one little more step last time, but let's go into the next one. So it's starting to get into the meat of where we're going to land with it. So what I wanted to do here is show you a pictorial of where you're bringing in your cash position liquidity forecasting together, and then we're going to go into the benefits of that. So it's more of like a bottoms up and a tops down with your planning process going across the top. And you can do this within, your current day, weekly, you can do 24 weeks, you can do it monthly, you can do it up to a year. Of course, it's always a rolling forecast, so as you're going through, you can constantly see all of your planning horizon until you don't have any more data left in your system, if you so choose. So you're going to be looking at all your cash flows, you're going to be looking at your cash positions, taking a liquidity forecast, and then taking all that forecasted information and working through to your liquidity planning and dealing with that rolling forecast going up. So all the cash, real cash is coming in, all your flows from your operations, your payables, your receivables, your treasury related items, you have your cash position, and now you can layer in, which we're going to show in a few minutes, your forecast of what's expected to happen into the future. So you always know what cash you have on hand, what's expected to come in at any time throughout the whole horizon that your system has available for data. So with the cash position report, I showed you, when we were going through the benefits last time, I had a snapshot of this. And one of the points of doing that, I wanted to be able to show you when you're actually looking at your cash position report within HANA and looking at that Fiori tile, you can actually have that ability to look at this by bank account or by currency or by region. It has a lot of flexibility of looking at this information, and you can also look at it, if you don't want to do the horizontal bar chart, you can go into the top right corner and you can actually pick on and change it into pie chart, horizontal, vertical, however you want to use it. You can also click into one of these items and get into a lower level of detail of what's actually the actual transaction itself if you so choose. And it's a really nice pictorial to come in the morning and see where your position is. So when you're looking at that, I'm finding that one of the top priorities of our treasury organizations is really how can we efficiently manage our cash and liquidity across the enterprises. But as organizations are growing in size and complexity, it's really becoming increasingly difficult for us to be able to gain an accurate view of the company's cash position. As many of the clients we've been talking to have told us, they're still using Excel, their items are not integrated. So it really becomes increasingly difficult to gain that accurate view of the company's cash position. And wouldn't it be much easier if our treasurers had a single version of the truth, with a consolidated view of all those cash flows from the sources in one place, allowing our overviews and quick drill downs to specific line item instead of having to wait till everybody gets all that together and verifies the bank statements passed, verifies, puts their manual journal entries in, automatically does the reconciliations, using Excel to compile the data from all the different portals. It would be so nice if when you can have everything like this at your hand right then and now. So you're going to find with the cash management solutions, our cash managers are now going to be more empowered to actually access those global bank balances in real time from across the enterprise, gaining that greater visibility into the organization's cash flows. They can manage their bank accounts and entire company centrally and implement robust controls for that account opening and closing using bank account management. We're also able to set up those cash pooling structures. You can perform the intercompany netting, you run your payments on behalf of, as we talked about before, or receive on behalf of, or using the in-house with the in-house cash banking functionality.
Yeah. And yeah, go ahead. No, go finish.
Sorry, I need to get some water. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is maybe Haresh, you can comment for a moment. Because we're looking at a particular display here, but of course you can move it around. We were looking at by bank, by currency. You can of course look by currency, by bank, and that's all because it's enabled by S/4HANA and the Universal Journal. Haresh, what are you hearing from people with regards to the power and the innovation that brings? Do you see a lot of people getting this aha moment out there?
Yeah, John. So essentially, this solution has been in place for a few years now, but SAP is constantly innovating and it's investing in making it even better. For those of you who have been observing the evolution of this, now SAP is offering some standard apps in Executive Dashboard, which roll the same information from the same S/4HANA platform, from the same database, into a completely sort of different view, which helps executives make sense of all the data that's flowing underneath. So it's a constantly evolving process, but our customers are, benefiting more and more as they're adding these additional apps. So yes, there's a lot of innovation going, there's a lot of excitement, and the key part is the SAP's story, which is everybody will want to run integrated systems. Anybody who talks about not having an integrated system, I think they're living in the past world. Future solutions will always be more integrated, and SAP is very well positioned with its design and architecture to deliver it to our customers' benefit.
And that always brings me that key point when every time I hear Haresh say this, because it brings back to my experience as well. It's like, SAP's here to stay. They keep on putting more functionality into this and making it better all the time. And, having been a treasury practitioner for many years, I've used many different treasury systems or implemented them, and they get bought. And then I start another one, and they get bought. And none of my information was in one place holistically together. So this brings you full circle into having everything that you need at your fingertips, and they're here to stay.
Absolutely.
Now, the cash flow analyzer, this is what we didn't. This is where we're going to start getting to. We didn't talk about this last time, and we're going to start getting into liquidity forecast. One of the wonderful, nice things that you'll see with the S/4HANA, which is new from ECC versus ECC, is the cash flow analyzer. Here you can actually have the flexibility to look at it in various different ways as well. Using the gray part in the top right here, you can use different value dates, you can use it by currency, you can use company code, you can look at it many different ways. Now what you're going to see here is you can see all your inflows and outflows by the green lines. There's also another layer you can easily put in, add columns, drag and drop them and move them around. I can't show you intuitively here because this is a screenshot. So if you want to contact me sometime and have a demo, it'll be easier for me to show you. Because then I can show for these planning levels that you see some numbers like, what the heck does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. But if I actually drag and drop the description in there, you can actually see what all your cash flows actually are. Is that related to a payable payment, a receivable payment, or a treasury type related item? It could have been, investments. It could have been, facilities. It could have been, intercompany loans. You can get into that level of detail. You can may say, oh, I wanted to see if I had all my AP, except for I wanted to see a level of my top 25 vendors. And you have the ability to see your cash coming in at the level that you want, the playing level that makes sense for you at your business. You have the flexibility to create this that's meaningful so you can use it for your company and make your decisions as you need. So that's pretty much the cash flow analyzer to see your actual cash. And now I wanted to go now into what this last webinar for this one series was, which is now we're going to start getting into the taking your cash position, your forecast, and looking at that together holistically. But what I wanted to be able to explain is that with this next phase to get into the forecast is you're taking information from SAP, from your subledgers, looking at your sales and distributions, looking at all your materials management, your financial operations, your bank statements, could you have loans, you may have memo records, things from one exposure, your payroll, your treasury, bringing all that information in together and having that visibility of what's going on in your business so you know what's coming or going from now and into the future forecasted period. So now you can optimize all those costs associated with all those your bank fee analysis applications. You can initiate cash movements from this cash position application to avoid overdraft and impact all your credit lines or reducing your banking fees and your borrowing costs. It's going to really help you get that detailed liquidity forecast to help plan your future cash flows and get that long-term guidance on all those different treasury operation needs. So no matter how many subsidiaries or how many bank accounts your organization has, this actually cash management view here will actually help you deliver a highly integrated solution to help you enable your corporation to make better decisions around your working capital utilization. So you're really getting instant visibility into your cash operations. You can do it from a graphics view, or you can get into like the grassroots down to really level detail of all the different items, however you so choose.
Right. Right. And I think, Kim, you mentioned this and so did Haresh, and I want to bring in a concept we talk a little bit about, which is this idea of comply, optimize, and transform, right? And, that's based on the idea that today you can start small and do the things that are required to get your business right. And that would be things like, as you look on here, the cash position and forecast, it's about your bank statements, looking at specific transactions, maybe in your financial operations, but then beginning to say, well, how do I expand a little bit out and optimize my different processes as you begin to expand out and really look at each and every one of these and have a single exposure. Look at your memo records, look at how do I integrate payroll and begin to optimize those processes so that you get better and better at it. And then finally, through this idea of cash position and forecasting, what you're really doing is starting to transform your business, take it to the next level, leveraging the true power of SAP S/4HANA and the Universal Journal and HANA itself, by really beginning to go from what I see today or what I saw this morning to a really great vision of where am I today and tomorrow to what is my position and that tomorrow and in the future. And that's really only SAP can really bring that all together, as you're saying, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. All right.
So bear with me. I think the pollen's getting to me a little bit today, or the ragweed. So before I get into the screens themselves, I wanted to just do a little bit of a recap right here. And that is, if you're looking at your cash position liquidity forecast, the business process itself, what does that mean? How is this actually pulled together? So you're going to look at that cash position forecast. Those reports are going to actually help you to monitor those cash operations and your long-term liquidity trends precisely. It's going to be able to give you those cash flows that you've extracted, like I said, from all your operations, whether it be your financial operations, your bank statements, and so forth, all those related items, accounts payables, receivables, sales orders, invoices, and so forth, or treasury-related flows. You can take that cash position report, it's going to get rid of all that manual efforts that you had in the past to be able to get your cash position together. No more of those Excel spreadsheets, no more going to the different portals and pulling the information together to build your cash flow. It's all automated from the right now all the way into the future. You can actually go backwards and see what happened days past as well. All your cash flows from all these modules are going to be stored centrally in one exposure database right in one place. So now you have your cash position as a central repository for all those inflows and outflows. You can also bring in non-SAP flows as well. We can do it in different types of memo records if you have different planning items that are not intuitively part of your subledgers. They're not a sales order, they're not invoiced and so forth. There's many items that a treasury or a corporation would have that you might want to put in as a memo record. And then you can execute that cash position and your forecast reports. You can view all those flows based on your planning types, your groups, which I'm going to show you in a minute. You could also make bank-to-bank transfers directly from it as well if you so needed to. It's quite intuitive in S4. It's not as manual or clunky as it used to be. So let's dive deeper into that and see what that looks like. So what I did was I went into our demo system and I took a few screenshots. Now we kept this as we tried to keep it more generic. And this, if you're looking at the left-hand side, just to give you just a demo type example. Again, this can be customized and built the way you want to look at your business. This is just a generic way. So for instance, you can see at the top, you can see for your top banks, you can see here's my bank accounts, the cash flows that I've had for today or expected into the future. You could also see it by your different types of vendors or your customers. You may want to group it by distribution centers and say, hey, I want to look at all my domestic customers, or I want to look at a specific customer that's related to some very expensive product that I pay for every single day. And if another vendor happens to want to join that group, it automatically will update. You don't have to worry about it's all hands-free. Same thing on the receivable side. You can look at all your different customers. You can look at different rents and payroll and taxes. You can see all these flows. Now, if you go down to the next screen, if you clicked on any one of these items, so for example, let's say I clicked on this top box right here and I picked my domestic vendors, you could actually see all the purchase orders and invoices that are related to that particular cash flow. And then if you wanted to go a next level deeper, you could actually click on that and get all the way down to the lower level of detail if you so really chose to. Same thing on the next box on the bottom. This is the flip side, up one more screen. Those are actually your sales orders. So you can actually see your orders that haven't been processed yet. You can see your invoices haven't been processed. Of course, once that's processed, you won't see, if it was all processed, you wouldn't see any orders or invoices anymore because it would all be cash. But you can see all through your food chain, all through your cycles, all of your items every step of the way and where they are in that food chain, if you will, all the way to becoming actually received cash. So you know what's going on at one time. Or if payables weren't made, or if receivables weren't made, you know exactly what's happening, what's overdue, and so forth. We can go to the next one. The next one will show you another slice, which is actually looking at your treasury-related items. Again, this is just a demo, just to give you a little flavor of in the little blue side, the blue box to the far left. You can actually say, oh, let's look at my treasury items that were out, or payment requests that I may have had, or fixed deposits, or commercial paper, or facilities and so forth. You can then go down and drill in again to any one of these line items and see at the actual level, oh, here's an intercompany loan or investment that I actually entered into the system. It's been approved, but it's not set for payment yet. Or here's all the ones that are ready for payment. Or of course, once they fall off the list, they become cash. You can actually see here's the different interest income I'm supposed to receive, or interest payable that's going to be happening. Or here's my maturities for all of my loans coming up into the future. That is all visible in one place, automated without anything you have to do. The bottom little screen here is if I wanted, when I was saying that you could actually click on any one of these items and drill deeper, this is just a screenshot of a domestic vendor just to give you an idea. You can get down to the document level. You can actually go all the way down to the actual document itself if you so choose. But just to give you an idea, it shows you all that level of detail. It's all integrated. It's all there. It's not something that you have to go over to this T code and this T code and over here and over there to get your information. It's all at your fingertips in one place without doing anything.
Right, and as you say, because it's S4HANA based on the same single source of data, the universal journal, and the same master data, it makes you able to do this. If you were in a disconnected TRM or using other solutions to manage receivables, you might not be able to do this at all, right?
Exactly, and it's accurate. There's no mistakes. If you wanted to see, okay, here's my receivables outstanding, you can tie that number right back. to your financials, or you want to see, receivables that you've received. It's all there, so you can actually tie all those numbers, or get down to the level of detail of where it originated, to the accounting document itself, or to the actual deal itself, however you so chose, without even having to go into somewhere else or type in a T code. It's all there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Haresh, any what are you hearing as you present? You've seen us do a couple of demos. These are screenshots, and of course, everybody, we'd love to show you a live demo, and so reach out to us and go ahead and schedule that. But Haresh, you talk to customers every day. What are their reactions, and what do you hear from people when they do that, when they see this?
So we, from SAP's perspective, we do encounter, companies that are offering treasury solutions to our customers, especially the customers who are using other SAP products such as finance and central finance and so on. And yes, they could work in many circumstances. They are, adopting these competitive solutions. But, as a long-term strategy, our view at SAP is that, as you're adding more dimensions, more exchange of data between two different types of systems, you're adding weak points, and both sides have to be kept up to date. Both sides are moving independently. Somebody's developing something that will not work with the other side. Those challenges always remain, and which is why, at least the customers who are on SAP platform, I think they will be better situated from a long-term perspective if they look at SAP Treasury Solutions and consider it as their treasury option in the long term.
I will add to that. Think about it for those that have used other treasury. Think about having to try to keep up all that master data and keeping it in sync, and having to quarterly check that to make sure. Otherwise, it bombs out because it doesn't recognize it. It's hard when you're trying to use two different systems that are not
exactly. I can give a couple of examples, right? Bank accounts, right? If you're making AP payments from your payables system, which could be SAP. Now you have to maintain house banks in that space, and then you also have to maintain bank accounts in some other system. I mean, there are things like that that always will remain a challenge as long as customers keep using, a totally different system for treasury compared to their finance. And that's where, SAP comes in, and it ties these open ends together.
Exactly, especially when Treasury opens and closes bank accounts from time to time, and then if it's not in sync with the SAP system, because you're opening and closing it outside of that system and those processes, and it bombs out. It gets a little bit.
And there are a lot of companies out there who not only use separate Treasury. We know of ones that do, one system for exposures, another system for treasury payments, another to manage APAR, another one for credit and collections management. Wow, that's like when we first started this process of talking about, wouldn't it be nice if I didn't have to have 52 different banking fobs to log into 52 different portals so I could get my information? Now this is kind of, well, now take that to the next level that says, well, now I have all these different systems that are gathering from all those different banks, and you don't have to have that. You can do it.
And John, if I may say this, I think those are the companies that are looking at the pandemic and saying, hey, was that really a good decision? Because they're struggling to figure out what's going on in each part of their technology landscape. Versus if they had a single platform, they would probably be able to click a few buttons and get the right information. So yeah, I mean, there are some customers who are struggling right now because of those decisions in the past.
Absolutely.
And the flexibility that you have today is a lot easier, and the reporting and robustness is, it's as you can see, some of the, well, if I showed it live, you'd see it a little easier, but it's quite robust today. So if you go on to the next slide, this kind of brings me down to the full circle here, and I'll go a little bit more deeper into some of the benefits and turn it over to Haresh, because he's got something exciting that I can't wait till he talks about today. We'll talk about in a few minutes. So with the cash position liquidity forecast, what the key capabilities and benefits I want to call out here. So as we were talking here, we talked about in this pictorial on the top, there's your cash position where you can actually have your tile. You can see your cash position for the day, and then you can drill into that tile and look at your cash position by region, by bank account, by currency, and so forth. And you don't like the horizontal bars, change it to a pie chart or change it to a vertical, so you can see all the information in real time. Click into any one of these items and get down to the details. or you can go into the actual forecast as an example and get down to the level of detail and drill into it if you so choose. So now you've got the key capabilities of being your single version of the truth for all your cash relevant data across all your business entities. You brought everything full circle. You have that flexibility and customizable automation of all your daily cash operation, liquidity forecast, real-time drill through capabilities, as we just talked about, and I showed you some screenshots of examples. You've now integrated all your bank account management and maintain all complete control of all your bank accounts in one place. That's what's banned, by the way, in S4, which is awesome. You know, banks think about this too. You bank signatories. You're not chasing people around with those little cards, getting them to mail them across the, across the globe to get them to sign them and send them back to you. It's all managed electronically in one place, and opening and closing is monitored in one place. Key benefits are going to be reducing the time and effort required to obtain those cash information. You can now understand your cash requirements right there in seconds. You're not waiting for all the Excel information to download your bank statements from the different portals and bring it into Excel and using your pivot tables. It's all there without you touching it. You have all that access to relevant data in one platform. You have the ability to analyze all those different levels of granularity as you're going through this to see if you want to look at it from your payables or your receivables, looking at how many invoices, how many sales orders, all your different treasury items and treasury instruments. You can create those precise, detailed liquidity forecasts that now gives you that enhanced guidance and planning for your business. And again, it's all right there. So you've got that liquidity forecast there from all your information. If you want to add information that's not part of your operations, part of your subledgers, you can easily add that in there as well, or upload it from an Excel spreadsheet, or you can use this next thing we're going to show you in a minute. And you can now have those user interface that's all easy and right there with full mobile access as well. Absolutely. So just wrapping those benefits together are my next two slides, and then I'm going to turn it over to Haresh. So now you're looking at, you've seen this slide before, and I've took the slides from the last two presentations we had, and I've built upon that, and I added to it. The same thing the next slide we're going to talk about. So now you've improved your working capital, you reduce your costs, and you have your payment optimizations and efficiencies now. Obviously, your real-time visibility and control of your cash, access to all those bank balances and liquidity forecasts in real time. Your processing now, you're now going to be able to meet and tighten those controls, because now all your processing is predefined and controlled end to end. We talked about bank communication management before, so all the payments can be funneled through all the proper levels of detail. One person enters the trade, another person confirms it and settles it. The same as after payment can be controlled. Same thing for AP payments, same thing. The bank communication management as you see fit, easily through the different levels of approval, and batches those payments out to the door. So it's all role-based, which ensures that separation of duties, and those workflow approvals, again, very flexible as you need to within the different limits that you choose within your corporation. Not that difficult like it used to be in the past. And you have all that relevant data in one central platform. So you can quickly integrate that with from all your different disparate sources. It's all one place now. So now you're able to, as we talked about earlier, what are the different factors that people are looking at today? What are the driving factors for this change? Is being able to react to these changing business conditions to really help you achieve that future growth. If you can't get your data and you can't act upon your data, and you don't know what your visibility is, and it takes you forever to pull it together, how are you going to be able to react to those changes quickly and be very nimble to take advantage of the different markets or manage your cash and your positions, your working capital appropriately? You're not going to be able to. So now you're going to be able to quickly integrate, acquisitions or mergers and so forth easily. You expand into those international markets more easily than you were in the past. You can actually make the different payments of the different types and different formats. You connect with multiple banks using different payment standards. You can also centralize and streamline all of your intercompany payments if you want to optimize your working capital. And you have the ability to quickly react to any kind of counterparty risk or any kind of external risk much easier, but you now have that higher transparency of all your financial exposures and the associated risk with that. So bringing that full circle to the end of today's discussion for me is, now that we've talked about payment processing through the SAP's Multi-Bank Connectivity, that's versus going through the SWIFT or going through a bank-to-bank, you can actually use it through Multi-Bank Connectivity. You can have all your payments go within to the banks back and forth, into the cash position, liquidity forecast, automatic reconciliation, and GL entries. So with your e-banking solutions, now you've got that straight through processing, and you've secured that through the multi-connectivity, moves all that risk, elimination of errors, easily onboard new banks. You have standard interface that eliminates that one-off interfaces that have to maintain, and those have done that in the past. You have to worry about the banks changing their formats, or your third-party interface changing the formats. That goes away. So you reduce your transaction costs and fees and maintenance of keeping those in place. And you're strengthening your internal controls. And now you've automated the workflows. And you streamline your routing of payments. So you've got rid of that risk of money going out the door without having the approvals and the 4 eyes on it, or you might have 6 eyes or more, depending on your levels of approvals. You can intuitively monitor if your bank statement's processed or not. You have full visibility of all of your life cycle of all your data in one central platform. And this, of course, supports your SOX and your legal and your regulatory compliance as well. Your electronic bank statements, you've captured all that information via the MBC, Multi-Bank Connectivity. We have automated bank statement reconciliation, your GL postings. Everything is secure and automated. Now you have your real-time insight to your information, which is key to the whole point of why we're doing all these different webinars and what you're looking for in the end. Eliminates all that signing on those various bank portals, all the different fobs you have to carry around and gathering that information in manually using those Excel spreadsheets. You have that visibility to actual cash and all your flows from all your banks and all your financing activities in one place, real time. So now you can have that timely, accurate view of your cash and make real-time decisions right then and there, and also eliminates all that poor data, master data issues, or the fact that it's not timely or it's inaccurate because I had to bring it from different places and use Excel. So now you have your full benefit end to end.
Great, absolutely.
But that is all that I had on this today. What I wanted to do now is I want to hand this over to Haresh, because there's one thing I wanted him to talk about, which is the Analytics Cloud and Liquidity Planning, Liquidity Planner, and we're also going to we actually attached to the end a link for a YouTube video that SAP created too, which is very cool. You got to watch it.
Yep, and we'll have it on our website. So I encourage you to go check that out. So, Haresh?
Thank you, Haresh.
Sure. Thank you, Kim. So, I mean, in the next few minutes, I'll just give you some idea about what the Analytics Cloud is and how it is being used for customers who want to perform long-term liquidity planning. So, Analytics Cloud is basically a cloud platform-based application, or I would say portfolio of application that takes in information live or in asynchronous mode from a variety of different sources. It has live connections to the S4 systems, but you can also have asynchronous data feed going into this platform. Now, that's the platform where SAP is designing a lot of the new generation analytical applications, including liquidity planning. So it is designed for simplicity with design thinking. Well, that's all happy things, happy stuff to say. It's built on the cloud platform. That's an important one. SAP is offering cloud platform-based applications, which means you don't have to install anything on your own landscape. You can just subscribe to it, and it'll start to work. It is the basis for digital boardroom for those of you who have participated in some of these Sapphire demos. You would have seen that SAP is offering digital boardroom where executives can just show up in a boardroom with screens on the wall showing all the live information feeds. They just click around and just get to the problem areas and fix those problems. All great stuff, all fancy stuff, but it's all based on the Analytics Cloud platform. Can you go to the next page, please? And the liquidity planning functionality is also built into Analytics Cloud. It can trigger a completely new planning cycles if you have various subsidiaries that are planning their own cash flows. You can have them do it and feed it into a workflow-based aggregation mechanism. You can get reference data for planning from your existing liquidity forecast. You can have it from the previous year's actual data. or you can also copy and paste from other sources if you want to capture outside sources. There's also a possibility of loading data from, let's say you're using, for some particular part of your business, you're just using a spreadsheet to capture certain numbers. You can use that as an input as well. Once that is done, you enter or adjust the additional planning data, and it can be done in various currencies. You can aggregate it. You can play around. You can build some hierarchical cash flow structures in there, and you submit the data. When you do the submission, SAP implements a workflow-based activity, which is then routed to the person who is responsible to approve your liquidity plans. Once the approval is obtained, it becomes the plan for the future. If not, then the approver can reject the liquidity plan, put the comments. There's a lot of collaboration built into this, so they can in fact start to chat with you, maybe send you some screenshots right on that SAP Cloud Platform screen, and then just get the issues resolved before it can be submitted for the final version. And once the final version is submitted, it becomes the plan for the subsidiary, and it can be used for future cash flow planning. So that's sort of a little bit of an overview of how this all works. On the left side, I have a sort of a picture of this working on this laptop. It doesn't have to be a laptop. It can be implemented on an iPad or other mobile devices as well. Quite flexible. It's out in the cloud, and it can be live based on the kind of connection you have with your S4 or ECC system.
And one of the things I love about this is, it brings me back to the days when I used to have to get this information from the different subsidiaries or other areas of the company to build my long-term liquidity, short-term and long-term liquidity forecast. It was a pain trying to aggregate all that information from the different sources and get in the right format, even if I gave them the right format to get the right information back. This makes it so intuitive and so on the fly and easier to get the information from the different folks and to send notes back and forth and gather that information easily. You can even do little formula-driven items, like you want your receivables to grow X amount over time and so forth. It has so much flexibility and so much ease of use. I think when you if you guys click on the YouTube link that I attached into this deck, go on site, it's really quite cool. I think you'd love it.
Yeah, I agree. And
I'll just say one more thing,
Go ahead,
John.
Go ahead, Harish. Please.
We have this upcoming Treasury conference, and we have a very specialized session on this specific topic of how to utilize SAP's capabilities for short, mid, and long-term cash flow planning. I would encourage anybody who is interested to sign up, and it's free, so you can use it without any payments.
Absolutely. The Treasury, if I remember. Go ahead, Kim. No, go
where's
ahead.
Where's that being advertised, Harish, on your website?
It should be on SAP.com, but this is a TA Cook conference which we have every year. So, those of you who are following it, it's very similar, but just that this time it's going to be all virtual. Right. If not, we have a link. Maybe we can share the link later, John, if that's possible.
Yep, it's on our website, and we'll share it later. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. So I was going to mention a couple of things. So first off, here's the link, and we'll talk for a moment. So here's a link. When you watch, you can check this out. I'll give everybody a moment to copy that down. I encourage you. It's a really great video. I love the interactivity, and the SAP's done a terrific job on the liquidity planner, the tool, and the video. In addition, as Harish mentioned, October 6th through the 8th, you can register for the TA Cook SAP Treasury event. Bramasol will be speaking. We have 2 speaking spots that we'll be doing specifically with customers, and we'll be focused in on these issues. You'll hear about in-house cash, and you'll hear about cash management. So that'll be fantastic. So I encourage you to do that. The other thing that I want to just remind you, and thank Harish and Kim as always, but remind folks, go to our website. We offer a number of different things. And again, you can see a demo of this. Reach out to me, reach out to Kim. We would love to do a demo for you. Everything you've seen is screenshots out of our S4HANA systems, so we can show you live information. There was so much here that we wanted to cover. We used screenshots to make it a little bit easier. In addition, we do health checks, and I want to encourage you. A lot of our customers are asking us, John, how do I pinpoint the exact places that I need to focus in on my business to really make an impact? Bramasol offers health checks, and these health checks are really benchmarking or assessments. We come in, we look at 4 different dimensions around your business, whether it's in the revenue accounting, lease accounting, S/4HANA, or specifically for Treasury, and help you understand around the dimensions of accounting, functional, technical, and reporting. Where can you benefit the most? Where can you pinpoint the opportunity for success? And many of our clients have used that for an ability to really get in and say, oh, look, I could get a lot of value out of just simply implementing MBC and bringing all of my banking statements into the same place. Or I can implement that in my revenue accounting solution to allow me to do more. So please, I encourage you to go check those out. You can check them out on the website. We have videos on them. We have a lot of others. Somebody had a question about the security for the bank connectivity tunnel. Kim or Haresh, you want to talk about that? But they are very secure. Maybe Haresh, you can touch on that real quick.
Yeah, so the technology we use to communicate between S4 system or the Multi-Bank Connectivity Cloud system, or from there to the bank, is all secured at the same level that the banks use to exchange transactions between their systems. Basically it's encrypted, so nobody can see your data until it reaches the destination, where the destination uses the encryption key to unlock the information. So in short, it is pretty much the same level of security that you get when you do trade transactions with your bank, or banks do it between each other.
Absolutely. And Kim, you just implemented that, right?
Yes, and we have the encryption keys and encryption certificates. It's all encrypted, so we're actually using that right now with a customer right now. We're actually just went live.
Awesome. All right. Well, to everybody, thank you very much. Any other questions out there? All right. I'll give a second. Well, as always, I want to thank Kim and Haresh. You guys, you both did a terrific job. I appreciate your time. This is available. We'll have it up on the website within 24 to 48 hours. So we encourage you to download it, share it with your colleagues, and we look forward. Another reminder that Thursday at this same time, we will be doing another webinar focused on in-house cash and the benefits of that. Again, reach out to us. We're able to do a live demo for you of all of this, and we encourage you to learn more and check out the health checks. So with that, I want to, on behalf of Bramasol and SAP, I thank everybody, and I hope you make it a great day.